Hey there, I'm Greg Nicotero.
Hi, my name is Coleman Domingo.
Hi, I'm Denai Garcia.
Hi, I am Mo Collins.
Hi, I'm Chad L. Coleman, Tyrese from The Walking Dead, and Cuddy from The Wire, and you are listening to the Cinik Radio Podcast. Here are your hosts, Cinik, Igrihe, and Ryan.
And this is episode 112 of the Cinik Radio Podcast, and I'm your sponge-tongued host, Cinik. And joining me, as always, my band of Kardashian thugs, Igrihe, Ryan, and Kim. And we are here to break down the latest Men in Black movie, Men in Black International. Can they still make it look good? The first non-Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones film hits theaters this week. Can our heroes save the world and the franchise with a brand new cast? Let's talk about it. Ryan, another week, another very low Rotten Tomatoes score. What was your expectations going into this movie, being it the fourth movie in this franchise?
My expectations were less about the franchise than the characters in it. You know, I like Chris Hemsworth. He's charming. I love Tessa Thompson. Same thing. I think they were great together in Ragnarok. You know, I like Liam Neeson. And so I was expecting that the combination of actors and characters would make this work, and that they would kind of get by on their charm. I don't know that I expected all that much from Men in Black as a franchise, because it has, you know, really it was one good movie. You know, it's not like it's Star Wars or MCU where I'm like, just the name alone was drawing me in. It was specifically these actors and the combination. You know, that was really where I expected something good.
How about you, IJ? You're all about having a good time. Did it meet or go above expectations for you?
See, now, the Men in Black franchise to me has always just been a good popcorn time. You go in, you watch, you have a good time, you laugh a bunch, and then you leave. And that really is all I expected from this. And for the most part, that's what I got. The acting was great. I really think Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth have great chemistry together. I love them in Thor Ragnarok. So just carrying that over into this and just putting them in different roles, I was ready for it. I really thought that there was a lot of good casting. I didn't expect it to be great writing, but it was supposed to be kind of a comedy. So I was ready. And I didn't have high expectations like this is going to be an Oscar winner or anything else. But I thought it could do all right. I thought it could be fun. I certainly didn't think it would run up a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, but here we are.
That is the case anymore going forward. It seems like everything is due to get bashed by somebody, and the critics are extremely fickle. I mean, the media and critics are already raining showers of failure on this movie, but it only had a budget of $110 million, and it made $108 worldwide. Now, doubling that for advertising and other costs, the movie will break even probably within a week or two. Kim, can the measure of a movie be taken by box office gross alone?
No, I think a lot of it has to do with how much they can just productize things. How much can they make from, you know, getting little lunch boxes with Men in Black logo out on it, and how can they monetize this in other avenues, especially on movies that aren't Marvel movies. They're not huge, you know, massive summertime blockbusters. They got to look at other venues in order to recuperate some of that cost. They
kind of are moving the goalposts back further and further on these movies as other movies take off into the stratosphere. Not many are going to be able to measure up to that. And I mean, Ryan, if Hollywood's new benchmark is $1 billion worldwide, aren't we setting up 99% of movies for failure?
I don't know that was their objective or the goal for this. I think the goal is franchise building. So with any of these, it's, you know, and obviously we're seeing, you know, kind of everything's getting rebooted or sequel because I think they don't want to take chances on new franchises or on new ideas. So they'd rather take something and run it into the ground and hope that, you know, look, you have charismatic leads who've worked well together. And so, you know, if you have a good script and it's a hit, or even if it's a moderate hit, then there's a franchise and they can do something with it. And I would say, you know, look, if it's got pretty bad reviews, fairly bad ratings, but if it ekes out, you know, a profit, I'm almost positive we'll see another movie and people will be excited about it. I think the biggest issue in general is that, you know, something like this, you could have come up with a brand new action comedy vehicle for them that didn't need to be Men in Black. And I think that's the problem, is that we're just kind of rehashing a lot of ideas. That why did it have to be that? You know, why not come up with something new as an action comedy vehicle for Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth? And, you know, so it felt like you were kind of shoehorning them in. And I think it was just, if anything, they kind of played it safe. And I guess we'll get into it a little bit more, but I just think the movie reeked of something that was like, yep, let's throw this out there to make a profit. And I don't think it took any chances, and it really didn't bring anything new to the franchise. So it would have been better off just giving them something brand new to work with.
Well, IG, we can't walk 5 feet down the street without tripping over some sort of new form of entertainment. Are old ideas with repackaged actors enough for you to go to the theater over and over and over again? Or is this Hollywood banking on familiarity and shooting themselves in the foot eventually?
Well, being a huge Star Wars fan, of course, anything that comes out with a Star Wars title on it, I'll go see. It doesn't matter if it's going to get bad reviews or anything else. So in some cases, absolutely. If you can repackage some of those things and put new stars in it and drop The Force Awakens on somebody, and we'll go watch it 6 times in the theater just like good little children. But then sometimes the property just isn't strong enough. Men in Black has always been fun. I've always enjoyed it. And I have actually seen them all in the theater, but it's not like because I really feel the need to do it. It's generally because there isn't anything else coming out within a few weeks that I'm super excited to see. Now, obviously, I went and saw Dark Phoenix last week. A couple of weeks, I'll be out seeing Spider-Man Far From Home. So there is some stuff coming out here that takes that problem away right now. But there are plenty of properties that I will go see just because it's a good time. Because for me, most of the time, if the movie is passable, I'll go and have a good time eating some popcorn, hanging out with my loved one, doing all right. And that's sometimes I think people forget that really movies are just there to give us a little bit of relief from our own life. Sometimes people want deeper meaning and huge stories and stuff that's really going to have a lot of social agendas and everything tied into it. And it doesn't have to be that. You don't have to have that every time you go to a movie. Sometimes, having a 15th X-Men movie that isn't all that great, but it's still fun to watch is an okay thing to do.
The movie opens with High Tea, the always amazing Liam Neeson, and Chris Hemsworth facing down the hive with nothing but their wits and their Series 70 atomizers. Kim, has Hemsworth found his niche in the braggadocious, sarcastic charisma that made Thor lovable?
I really appreciate him as an actor, but even in more simple, movies like this, it would be nice to see a wider range of acting ability instead of seeing the same character, the same actor and everything that he seems to be doing. I think it's his safe zone for him. I think it's a niche that he found success in before and he was comfortable with. And that's just kind of the shtick that he went with going into maybe this movie. Obviously, that's, directors could have changed that or altered it and said, hey, I need you to do something different. But, it's a formula that's worked for him before in the past. And he just kind of went with it, I guess.
We see in sports, they call the well-rounded baseball player a 5-tool player, or in MMA, Ryan, that you've got to be good at everything in order to succeed. But if you watch Chris Hemsworth interviews, this is pretty much who he is. He's that Thor character. He's H. Do you think maybe this is really the only tool that he may have in his fucking toolbox? See, we really haven't seen a lot of range from him otherwise.
He has more range. I think we've seen it. He was so good in Ragnarok and has been so good at this, playing this kind of wit, kind of slightly cocky, not quite getting the jokes on him type of character. He's done such a good job of that, and that maybe it is kind of a niche that he's falling into. And I think that it would be good to give him roles that showcase his acting ability, because he's a good actor. I mean, I think El Royale was great in that, and I think he's shown range. So I think it's more that he's done a little too well with the comedy between Ragnarok and Ghostbusters. He was probably the only good thing about that Ghostbusters reboot. So I think that they're leaning a little bit into the comedy, and maybe we need to kind of lean back. And it's like, okay, we know he's charming, he's good looking. We know he's got the comedy chops. Let's showcase that he is actually a good actor.
We cut to a very young Molly who ends up being Agent M, and she has a close encounter of the adorable kind. As a child, she gets a glimpse of the Men in Black, which sets her on a lifelong search. Now, Kim, we all grew up with Star Wars and X-Files, but if you saw what Molly saw, would it become your life's goal to find out how it all works?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Especially, you got to think in that opening sequence when you're kind of introduced to her, she's like sleeping in bed and she's got that Stephen Hawking book on her chest that she's what, 8, and she's reading this high intelligence type reading that most adults couldn't even begin to tear down or break apart, and she's halfway through a damn book. Absolutely. If you saw something like that and it kind of validated this whimsy that you've painted in your mind of, while other kids are playing with Barbie dolls, here she's thinking of, extraterrestrial life forms and black holes and such. So yeah, I think it was predetermined even before she saw that, but I think it kind of ignited her to continue that search.
Really kind of a connected but off-topic question, IG. I mean, you live in the north up there, and we've been seeing in the news where people are seeing a lot of spaceships and unidentified flying objects. Do you think we're alone in the universe?
I think that just given the endless possibilities of the universe, the thought that we're the only intelligent life anywhere in the entire universe would be a little too small of thinking. There's got to be something else. I don't know if it's as vast as the Men in Black franchise shows us with all the different types of life that can communicate and live together, but I certainly don't think that we're alone. I mean, it's an endless universe with an endless amount of possibilities. I do believe that something else is out there. I don't know if they know that we exist, but they very well might. I mean, there might be Klingons and Vulcans flying around us every 100 years to see if we've evolved yet. I don't know. And there's no proof, but there's no proof that there isn't either. I mean, that's why, like the SETI group, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence exists, where you used to be able to put an app on your computer and it would just decode data all the time to see if they could find anything. And yeah, I think there's got to be something out there. I don't think it's almost possible that there isn't at least one other place with intelligent life.
Well, as dismissed as encounters are by normal people that haven't been through it, would you admit it if you had contact with an alien? And if they anal probed you, would you really mind?
If I gain anything from the anal probe, well, maybe not even then. It's a special experience not many people have had, and I'm all about experiences in life, so why not? Am I going to tell people, though? Probably not as much as some of these crazies do, where they literally tell anyone that will listen, because you just simply sound crazy. Unless I have some kind of inkling that when I tell people the U.S. government is going to come and put me in a nice room and 3 hots and a cot, then maybe, you get taken care of. If they have good Wi-Fi, I might go.
Ryan George, squint bleakly at the screen alert as a now adult Molly sneaks into the Men in Black compound, protected only by a hologram, and she's captured. Ryan, were you aware that you could join the world's most secret organization just by simply trespassing and being persistent?
I did like that effect. I like the effect of the kind of hologram. You see one thing and then you go in and see it. And, that was a little funny gag, and kind of watching her find her way in. Yeah, it's kind of silly that the most secretive organization in the world, and she could just kind of waltz in. And then, just on the strength of kind of wanting to be part of it, she joins. That part's kind of silly, but it's a conceit I'm going to buy for this show movie. I'm not asking, for this. It's like, you want action and you want comedy and you want some interesting aliens, and that's really it. And if you give me that, logic goes out the window. Don't really care all that much. It's not it's definitely not a movie that I'm going to nitpick from that standpoint, but it's got to be funny and it's got to have some good aliens and interesting characters, and it needs that for me to like it. And that's the area where I think it struggled to carry me. But if that's how they're going to get her in and they're going to save us an hour of her kind of digging her way to find a way to become a man in black or a woman in black, then I'm fine with it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a follow-up, and if it's going to get you in trouble, then I want you to go ahead and stop. However, one of the funny gags in all the Men in Black movies is when they show celebrities that turn out to be aliens. Okay. And you've been in room with the man. Is our good friend Childish Gambino in fact an alien?
No, he only in that he's so talented. You might think it's not fair. No human should be that talented, but no, I don't think he's an alien. Although it was pretty funny. Like I did pop. My wife did too when we were watching it. And she hit me while we were watching that scene. That was fun.
Agents H and M get paired for their first mission together. Kim, do you believe the casting was a direct result of the chemistry between Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson in Ragnarok?
Yeah, I think they definitely have a lot of chemistry together. They work well together. I like I said earlier, I feel like H is Chris Hemsworth. Maybe that's why they called him Agent H. They've worked well together before in the past, and I kind of feel like they were following that same recipe, and he was following that same, character line. And yeah, he was the exact same, even in Ghostbusters 3. As far as she was concerned, she was completely different, in Thor Ragnarok, she's, not taking any shit, drinking. She's, a completely different individual. And then on this one, it was sweet, passive, cunning, very clever type of character. I think she did a phenomenal job.
IG, if they happen to get paired again in another movie, would you go see them? I mean, is their chemistry that strong for you?
I really think it is. I think their chemistry, they just play well with one another. You can tell that they care for one another. It just really works. They do balance each other very nicely. And as much as Chris Hemsworth was playing Thor again, basically, God of Thunder, I love God of Thunder. So in Captain Sparklefingers, I love the character. So he can play that character all over the place because I love Thor Ragnarok. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies. So why not put him acting that way in other roles? And this is a good role for him to do that in. Because if we remember the other Men in Black movies, Agent J with Will Smith was just like this, kind of goofy, kind of aloof, doing his own thing. Why not? I'm all about it. And I would totally go see Chris and Tessa in other movies based on this, at least given that they're at least part comedic. I think if they went straight drama or something else, I don't know as it would work as well, but maybe. I mean, I guess I'd have to see a trailer.
Their first outing goes horribly wrong, as not only do they lose their objective, H's friend Bungus, but it also leads to an epic battle. Visually speaking, Ryan, did the battle between the agents and the intergalactic Thompson twins meet Milli Vanilli work for you? And did you like the build-a-gun out of spare car parts aspect?
That was a cute, kind of clever scene, but one of those things they gave away basically in the trailer. And I did like the effect that they gave to those twins. It seemed like the twins were, it was weird because they seemed like super powered when they needed to be super powered, but then not powerful enough when they needed them to not be powerful enough. I did like the effect on them. And, those are two dancers. I know we've seen them on YouTube and online before. And I think, they were able to capture some of the physicality, when they had them as humans or, kind of looking like humans. But even when they did the effect of them as almost like these demon-like figures, I thought it was done really well. So I actually did like the effect. I like their powers. I just feel like, like with, and this goes back to almost all the comic book movies suffer from this problem of like, we never know quite who has what powers and what the extent of it is. And often it seems like their powers are as great or as little as the plot requires it. And sometimes, that can be frustrating because you just kind of want to know where we stand and know what they're capable of. And yeah, like sometimes they're as powerful as they need to be for the plot. And that can get frustrating.
I thought they were visually really interesting. I just wish they were a little fleshed out more, and we had a little more context to them. They turned out not to be the main antagonists in the story, if we really think about it. But at the same time, they didn't have names. Their powers were very visually cool, but other than that, we didn't get a lot from them, and I kind of wish we would. I did enjoy that whole sequence where they hit the ground and it kind of waved the pavement, knocking everybody over. But my question really, IG, is if you have a much, much bigger gun further down the car, why don't you just go to that to start?
Yeah, it's just the fun of watching them ramp up their fight. And I never understood it. It's like, maybe if Tessa, when offered at the beginning as Agent M, and when she was offered the noisy cricket, we know what it'll do. She should have taken the noisy cricket. You don't need the big gun. You need the noisy cricket.
We take a side trip to the desert to meet the comic relief of the movie, Pawnee, played by Kamal, and I'm not even going to try his last name because it's a fucking mess. Nanjiani?
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah? Is that like Famke
Janssen.
Famke Janssen. Kim, did the side trip to the desert feel like it was just a backdrop to have a mega bike chase and to show how powerful this weapon was?
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of that scene in Aquaman where they just randomly go to the desert to find some under dune, castle or whatever. That like I was having flashbacks to that when that whole scene happened. I'm like, oh, here comes a superhero kind of guy who's going to jump out of land in a giant dune of sand. I don't know if it was necessary. But again, it's not a super serious movie. You don't go into it thinking that it's, going to be The Hunt for Red October or something like that. It's meant to just kind of divert your attention in multiple different ways. And it wasn't bad. And I think they did a good job of it as far as going through Marrakesh and all of that. I liked it.
IG, as a biker, how bad do you want that hover bike with hyperspeed?
Oh my God, I want it so bad.
Hit the red button.
If that thing existed, I would sell both my kids and my left arm to have one, I think. That thing is so cool. But the problem is maintenance on that thing has got to be just a bear. Parts are next to impossible to get. No mechanic knows how to work on it. You got to bring it to a specialized guy. So really cool for about 12 minutes a year when it's actually working. Or gal, yeah. Hey, thumbs up.
Like save. The only difference, though, is if IG had the motorcycle, if he hit the red button, In-N-Out Burger would come out of the glove compartment so he could eat while he was driving.
Oh, double, baby.
The weapon is stolen and taken to H's ex, alien weapon dealer girlfriend Riza. She's also nothing to be fucked with. That's right, Wu-Tang humor. It brings up the question, Ryan, if intergalactic love was a thing, and it's good enough for James T, and it's good enough for Star-Lord, would you date and get carnal with an alien if they were available?
No pleading the fifth.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Plead the fifth first. But
he's trying to find out what those tentacles are all about.
Yeah. There's the real world, and then there's the movie answer. So real world answer is no, because there's no way that they would be anything close to looking like us. I guess it seems as if most aliens are fairly humanoid, if not completely human. So I guess so. I don't know.
Well, there's always that talk of a third boob, but what if she had a third boob? But a third arm would really be helpful in certain situations. How about you, Kim? We'll flip it around. If there was a hot-looking alien guy, would you take a dip in the pool?
Yeah, sure. What the hell?
All right. Good enough. When the chips are down and they're both about to be killed, conveniently, Riz's Tardarshian guard is also the same alien that Molly helped in the beginning of the movie. IG, all in good fun, or a little too much to swallow?
Plot armor is thick in this one, Cinik. Plot armor is very thick. I think it was just so convenient, and it was just a nice turnaround, but you know what? It was fun. So what? It is absolutely plot armor. It is absolutely exposition. But, was it fun to watch? Was it good to have that kind of come back all the way around from the beginning? Absolutely. So I'll give it a pass. I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. Not that big of a problem.
How about you, Ryan? Where did that land on the Ryan George squint scale?
It didn't land. I think, again, this is a kind of movie where I'm not super concerned with logic and convenient plot devices. That the movie is not asking you to take it too seriously, and so in that case I'm not going to take it too seriously, so it was fine. In fact, for whatever reason I kind of liked it. I don't know why, because normally that's something that would annoy me, but yeah, I wasn't too bothered by look, there was no logic in this movie, so I didn't really care. I just cared that I was just kind of underwhelmed most of the time, and that was actually a scene that I kind of liked, I guess. I don't know.
I adore the fact that you're a brutal taskmaster when it comes to anything with zombies on The Walking Dead, and any small coincidence just drives you batty. But out of the billions of percent possibility that this could be, that's okay.
With anything, you kind of have to play by the rules that they give. So it's if you have a world that's got zombies, but it tells you, look, the conceit, we've got zombies, but we want you to take everything else seriously, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to go, try to take everything else seriously. But then you have this world where it's look, it's all a joke. It's ridiculous. Don't really care about logic or anything. So in that case, I'm not going to, it won't bother me all that much. So really it's kind of down to what does the creator want me to work with? And then I'll kind of apply my nitpicky cynicism to it, I guess.
Well, you're headed to Paris in a short bit of time. Will you stop by the Eiffel Tower and possibly look for the Hive?
Yeah, we might. We're going to be, because we'll be in the south of France, but we'll be in Paris for one day. So I think we'll try to do it. Although, to be honest, I've been on the Eiffel Tower, and I'm a little afraid of heights, and the whole open structure kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I don't know that I'm necessarily looking forward to doing that again. So we'll see.
Listen, kids, don't tug on Superman's cape. The whole who's the mole thing was the biggest question in the movie. Is it not the obvious C? Maybe it's the HTs, but it turned out to be high T that was working for the Hive the whole time. IG, how soon did you figure out who the mole was, and did the swerve work for you?
It actually took me a while because, I wasn't sure where the mole was, who the mole was. It could have been the worm guys from the very first Men in Black, as far as I knew. That would have probably actually swerved me a little further, but the swerve worked. I didn't honestly think it was high T, just based on some of the earlier actions, like when he was calling to tell him, hey, look out and everything. I didn't catch it. So yeah, it worked. It wasn't like a huge twist where I was like, oh my God, can you believe that? No, but it was good. It wasn't poorly done.
Our heroes face down T at the Eiffel Tower and save the ultimate weapon, and ultimately defeat the Hive. Kimmy, your thoughts on the final battle, the movie, and your rating?
I really liked it. And I think we had a lack of conversation and dialogue today about Pawn. I thought that was a really cute little character. And there were some kids in the theater that were just like, I want one. I liked it. I really did. I'm not so afraid of heights, so the whole Eiffel Tower thing, them revisiting it in that same sequence, like when the movie first opened and the car sliding into the half parking spot and then buttoning up the jackets and walking up to the tower or whatever, them doing it exactly like H and High T didn't understand why that was necessary. But, it is what it is. I did pick up on the fact that he was repeating the same line over and over again. We saved the world and we did it using only our, level 7, whatever it was. But for some odd reason, it never dawned on me that he had actually been neuralized himself. And it was so simple. It was right there the whole time. I don't know if I was just looking for something deeper or a more difficult connection to it or whatever. But again, it's one of those movies that you watch and you don't have to think too hard about. And I liked it. I wouldn't say that it's, knock my socks off or anything like that, but I'd give it like a 6.5 or 7, but mainly that's for Chris Hemsworth and for Tess. I just think they did a fantastic job.
I definitely agree that Pawnee was probably my favorite part of the movie. I think he was great. I almost feel like his chemistry with each of them individually was better than their chemistry together. And I think that the movie was easily saved by that trio. They didn't get enough work together, and they didn't get enough, I think, time to really showcase their humor together and their that chemistry that was so great in Ragnarok and why we were excited about the movie. I don't know. I feel like the movie seemed to play it safe. There was a lot more there, and most of the humor just didn't quite hit for me. I think it needed to take a little bit more chances. And, I didn't come in expecting the greatest movie ever, but I just feel like, the pieces were there for it to be a lot better than it was. And so I was a little underwhelmed. I think, it was humorous and it was entertaining for a time, and kind of knew as soon as there was a mention of a mole, you knew it was going to be Liam Neeson. That's just how it was going to be. And, I think the movie, if anything, it looked really good. I did like the effects. I like the different some of the aliens, the beard alien, which is the guy from What We Do in the Shadows, which is cool. But that whole beard was weird, and the that third arm was cool, and they did some cool stuff with those characters and some of the action. But otherwise, I think it's just a little. It could have been better. I think, and watching it, there was something there that they missed, and so I give it a 6.5. It was entertaining, but again, a little underwhelming.
So this did for me exactly what I wanted to do, which was to be a fun Saturday evening, going out to a movie with the spouse where we weren't so emotionally invested when we left that we really needed to come home and drink a few bottles of wine to try and recover. It was a fun popcorn movie. And I'm a big fan of fun popcorn movies. I love to go see them because it's just a release from everyday life. You just get to suspend disbelief for 2 hours and have a good time. And that's exactly what I did. The acting was right where it needed to be. The writing was a little bit short. The pacing had some moments that stopped basically 20 minutes out of the movie to go do whatever they did with RZA. Just made no sense in the movie. It really didn't have any effect on the outcome. But it was still fun to watch. So I can give all of that a pass and just say, you know what? I had a good time watching this movie. It's still fun. The chemistry between the three mains in this, which would be Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, and Kumail Nanjiani, which Cinik can't say, so I'm just doing it for his benefit. it worked. It was really good. They're going to sell about 4 billion Pawnee toys as long as they get kids to see this movie. And I think it's well-deserved. It's just a lot of fun. And it doesn't have to be anything special. It doesn't have to send a message. It was just a lot of fun. Now, I'm not going to give it a 9 or anything because it's not that kind of movie. It gets a solid 7 from me, though. I really did enjoy it.
If you go to see this, is the universe putting you at the right movie at the right time? It depends on what you're looking for. I liked the final battle. Visually, it worked. H&M facing down the hive worked. It was exciting, if not fun, but a little predictable. It feels like we say this every week, but it's a sequel to a franchise that has never been amazing. Getting away from it all for a few hours and having fun with your family, that's Men in Black International. It's mindless fun with a great cast, and I'd watch Chris and Tessa in about anything. As a movie, I give it about a 6.5. As a good time, I'll give it an 8 or 9. Let's do some news, IG.
Let's hit it. Let's get some news. All right, because I got to beat up on Florida every week. Today, it's not about complete morons, though. It's about the moronic police there, because 90-year-old Arnold Abbott was in a South Florida park, just there to feed some homeless people. He handed out about 4 plates, couple of forks, and then an officer said, drop that plate right now, and arrested the poor old guy.
This absolutely drives me crazy. This reminds me of when they give kids fines for opening lemonade stands because they didn't get the right permits. Somebody's obviously caring when the world doesn't. We don't take care of these people. Most of them are either mentally ill, addicted to drugs, or vets with severe problems, and we do nothing to help them. And somebody takes the time to try to just lend a hand, and you're going to put them in jail. That's a severe crisis of intelligence right there.
We have an issue in this country of criminalizing the poor, and then there seems to now be another layer of this where we criminalize people who want to help the poor and help the needy. And it's like, what do you want? Like, if we're not going to provide people with the mental health resources and the jobs and financial benefits or food or whatever social programs we need to keep people off the streets, and then you're saying somebody who's taking their own time and their money at that age and then you're going to arrest them, that just doesn't make sense. And I think it's just immoral. And I don't know how anybody could justify it.
I think one of the things that was left out of the original report about this, because I am here in Florida, so we get like the local news and stuff like that, was that there was actually a food pantry and a homeless shelter within a few blocks of where he had set up. And it really didn't have so much to do with the fact that he was feeding the homeless. It was the fact that he had been warned previously that if he was going to do that, he needed to do it through the proper outlet or the right venue, because you can't set up a stand like that without proper inspection. And what the city was complaining about was that who's monitoring to make sure that the chicken is the right temperature and that it's not undercooked, and who's, there was no checks and balances for it. And it put the city at a liability if somebody was to become sick as a result of it, which they're already out on the streets as it sits. That's the other side of what I heard from this. I still think it's shit to take a 90-year-old man and throw him in jail, which I think this is the second time it's happened to him.
And some of those things like you're talking about with permits and somebody to come and do inspections, I would be more inclined to agree with all that if he was trying to sell the stuff, if he's trying to turn a profit and make some money. But if you make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and walk around parks handing them out to homeless people, what's the problem? Does somebody need to inspect all that? I don't know what he was serving. Could have been Campbell's soup. It doesn't really matter when you're really just trying to reach out to the community and help those people that really need it the most. He's not trying to make any money. He was out there with a couple of pastors who probably brought stuff from their church and from their shelves. And a lot of those shelters and food banks and things like that are generally stressed to the gills anyway with the amount of people that they have to serve. So sometimes these people, while the opportunity might be there, they may not still get fed every day. So it's really just an embarrassment in our country when anyone decides that they want to go out and help. that they get shut down at any point. If somebody wants to help, let them help. All right, so the next thing, on 3 days after the anniversary of his ex-wife's death, the juice is loose again. This time, he's on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, at the real OJ32, you too can follow an acquitted murderer. You can go and see what's going on and see if he's going to finally explain if I did it and when I did it.
Well, I don't think he's going to do that. What I think he's going to do is try to rehabilitate his image by being witty and trying to be an everyday guy on social media with people. But I just, as bad as we are about having short memories, I don't think OJ gets off the hook for this, no matter how kind, nice, or informative he is about fantasy football. What do you think, Ryan?
It's the age of social media. He will have, I think he has 500,000 followers. He will have followers. There are always going to be people who think he's innocent and have crazy conspiracy theories like his son did it. But whatever the case is, I think it's awful that he's around. And I think, we do live in a world where, if you're rich, it definitely helps. He's a celebrity. He always will be. And I think less about rehabbing his image than trying to find ways to make money, keep his lifestyle. And I wouldn't be shocked if he had a reality show or started his own podcast or did something to keep himself out there, and that there will be people, unfortunately, that are going to pay. He should be in jail. He should be in jail for life. And yeah, it's sad and unfortunate.
Well, we got the hint of justice when he got the 9-year sentence for armed robbery, I think it is. But the problem is that as a society, we like to rubberneck. And really what we should do, because everybody wants to see what the guy's going to say or what he's going to do. And really as a society, what we should do is what they've all done to him in public is just turn our backs. We don't want to hear what you have to say. We don't want it. And when he goes to start up his Twitter and he has one follower or maybe none, and then maybe he'd get the hint that we're not going to forgive you for murdering 2 people in cold blood simply because you were a jealous fuck. What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I think there's a whole slew of women that, maybe even some guys, but mainly women that have severe daddy issues who like this kind of crap. They enjoy talking to somebody who they think is dangerous. It's the whole reason why a lot of women are pen pals with prisoners in jail. I don't think he's going to come up short on the followers end. And I mean, speaking of terrible people that have social media accounts, you can follow Kim Jong-un on Facebook. He's the only person in his entire country who's allowed to have a profile. And you know what? He's on there daily, and he's constantly putting snarky little messages and little shots that are being fired back at Trump. And I don't think that people in these kind of positions really should be allowed to have open access to being able to have this kind of a platform. It's dangerous.
Well, with a haircut like that, I don't know how he gets snarky with anybody. What do you think, IJ?
So you guys are totally against Naked Gun 44 1/4? We're not getting that? No more Naked Gun movies? I mean, come on. Like, can't give the Juice a 7th or 8th chance? I mean, he's only had that many. I mean, isn't that what our country's founded on? 9 or 10 chances if you have $1 billion? Yeah, he shouldn't be free. He was sentenced to 33 years in prison in 2007 or 2008. It hasn't been even half of that time. He shouldn't be out, and he was let out in 2017. So he's been out like nearly 2 years now, and he's garnered in like less than 2 days 192,000 followers on Twitter. So that's not just women that like a bad boy. That's a bunch of crazy people that are like, oh, OJ. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. And you know what? He was a very talented running back in the NFL. Absolutely. I thought he did a good job acting in the few things that he did, even though it was either Towering Inferno, where he was a serious actor, and the Naked Gun movies where he was a joke. He did fine in those, but then he went and killed some people, whether or not he was convicted of it or not. He killed some people. Everybody believes it. And now he gets to come out and be a megastar again, and he's going to probably earn some money from some endorsements and things like that. I tell you what, I love Coke. If Coke gives OJ some money, I'm done. I'll go back to Pepsi or drink water, heaven forbid. So my next story comes from Henderson, Tennessee, where 48-year-old Tiffany Hummel was arrested for setting her fiance's house on fire 5 times in one day. 5 times. Now, I believe that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, but what do you have to do to have your fiance set your house on fire 5 times? Like the message should be across after at least 3, right? Don't you think? 3 times they should get it.
She ought to get a T-shirt that says I committed arson 5 times and all I got was a stupid T-shirt. She's the world's worst arsonist. If you get 5 attempts to burn anything down, Jesus Christ, I see him burn down most of a hut on Survivor with a stick and some coconut husks. If she can't get it done, I don't know what's wrong with her. As far as what he might have did wrong, it doesn't matter. It probably could be as little as leaving the toilet seat up. You just catch her on the wrong day and you have the right comeback, and next thing you know, all your clothes are on fire. What do you think, IG?
I think it's absolutely hilarious and apropos that, she just is trying to light stuff on fire, and it's probably a good way to view their relationship. He does stuff that does nothing but piss her off day after day after day, and she can't do anything to stop it, including trying to burn his ass up.
What do you think, Kim? Do you think her favorite song is Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash?
I mean, was he there all 5 times? I mean, after the first time, he didn't call authorities and say, hey, this crazy bitch is trying to burn my house down. No, he waited till the 5th time. Like, seriously? You just sat there?
It's Tennessee. Maybe they did come all 5 times and just slap her on the wrist the first 4. Stop it, you naughty girl. You didn't bring any marshmallows. You can't start fires like this.
I mean, good grief. I mean, what'd she do? Like, all right, I'm going to try the southwest corner. Nope, that didn't work. Let's go to this corner of the house. Nope, that didn't work. Too much cow shit or whatever it was that, I don't know. But who the hell tries to set a house on fire 5 times? That's ridiculous.
Like I said, 3 should have done it.
On the other hand, she is extremely motivated, because I probably would have gave up after the 2nd or 3rd time. What do you think, Ryan?
Monster.com is looking to recruit her for some sort of position, I'm sure.
I actually thought it's impressive, I guess, that I actually thought it looked the other way, that she got away with it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if is it that she's that bad of an arsonist, or is he that bad that they didn't care? There's so much to the story that I'd like to know. I'd like to know more, or maybe not. I can just create my own story about why she got away with it. So yeah, I'll work on that and get back to you.
It's probably going to be better than whatever the truth is, because probably something really stupid and benign.
I have this vision that she was using a really bad lighter, and every time she'd get a spark, he would just hit her full blaze with a fire extinguisher in the face and just laugh at her. That's what I'm hoping went down, because just for comedy's sake.
So my next story comes from the Great White North of Manitoba. There are some places in this world that have just natural wonders that happen on very specific times, right? You get the salmon running in certain places, like in Washington, up through the channels up there. You get the cherry blossoms in Tokyo, the Netherlands with their tulip fields. There's places in the world that are just fantastic to see. But in Narcisse, Manitoba, we are in the time of year where snake mating happens. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 70,000 snakes in this field come out to get it on in this time of year. And it's happening, and people are showing up. And all they ask is that you don't call it a snake orgy.
Not don't go near the snakes. Just they're temperamental. They don't like being called an orgy.
Yeah, they can't stop people from coming, so they're going to show up and watch 70,000 snakes writhing in pleasure, but they just don't want you to call it an orgy.
Let me flip it this way on you, IG. Would you rather go to that or a full expense paid trip to the Dominican Republic with all the minibar items you want for free?
I might go watch the snakes. Dominican Republic and me, I don't think. I've dealt with some of those people. No, thank you. I'm out. Hollywood actress Bella Thorne was being held a little bit captive over this past weekend. A hacker got a hold of some nudes off of her iCloud account and threatened to release them publicly. So she did what anybody smart would do and went and put them on Twitter herself, along with his phone number and all the texts that he was sending her trying to blackmail her for money. So now people are contacting this guy and going, what's problem, dude? What are you doing?
Yeah, I have a real problem with this going on. I mean, anymore, you've got to be smart enough not to keep anything on your phone because we're all susceptible to the hack. But these people taking these private moments from people and then trying to sell them back to them is completely wrong. I can't stand it. It's happening over and over and over again. And I'll admit that I accidentally look at all of it, probably multiple times, and I don't mean to. It's just all over the internet. But I do feel bad for the people in question. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's awful. you don't want to victim blame. You're right. Like, I think we should all know, like, you really can't keep stuff like that anywhere that's accessible, especially if you're in the public eye. And that's not to say she deserved that, or that it's just like, it's just a fact of life. Like, you just kind of have to be careful at any facet, but especially, if you're in the public eye. But I think that was, that's probably the best thing you can do. And it took a lot of courage, and it can't be an easy thing to do, to just share that. But at the end of the day, she's able to kind of reclaim a certain amount of power from this person. And I hope this person suffers for it. And, I think with what happened a few years ago, I know a bunch of people went to jail, and I hope he does get, I'm assuming it's he or she gets prosecuted and, has to deal with the consequences, because it's not right. It's not fair that anybody, if you're in the public eye, I think you do accept a certain level of loss of freedom, but that's many steps too far, and I think that there is a certain level of privacy that you do have an expectation to, especially what is on your phone or what pictures you do or do not want to let get out. And so I think it was, again, brave of her to do that, and probably the best thing she could do. And hopefully this person does get prosecuted and has to deal with the consequences.
Kim, what do you think? I mean, would you be embarrassed if those pictures of you at that furry convention got out?
Oh, no, not so much. But, how do we know that this isn't like the new Hollywood sex tape? Like, this isn't like the new publicity stunt of today where, I'm going to show girl power and overcome this, body image, whatever that this guy is trying to hold over me. I don't know. My mind goes in two directions whenever I see this. I think, okay, well, that really sucks. And I think it's shitty for somebody to, try to blackmail somebody. But then the other side of me says, well, how do we know it wasn't an intentional thing? And that phone number she posted was just a burner number or something.
That's true. IG, what do you think?
I think that, it's good for her for doing that, especially since she really hasn't been doing anything else lately. So get your name back out there, get a new role in the next Sharknado type franchise, get yourself something to do. Because all she's doing is being Instagram famous lately, putting out half-naked pictures anyway. So it really wasn't too much of a stretch to put a little bit more skin out there. And if she's comfortable in her skin, great. Like, I'm all about free the nipple. I don't care if men, women, whatever, go shirtless. It's fine. Whatever you want to do. If you're not hurting anybody, I don't care. I'm not against people breastfeeding in public. I don't care about any of that stuff. Like, let people live their lives and have some fun. And to these scumbags that want to hack into people's stuff and then try and hold it ransom, you deserve to be whipped with the snakes from my last story.
Well, at least we got some use out of the story.
So on June 6th in Great Britain, apparently somebody thought the Queen was jonesing for a couple of large cheeseburger pizzas because someone called in and ordered the local Domino's and ordered them up. 4 large cheeseburger pizzas to Buckingham Palace. Poor driver, when he showed up, was told, no, brother, that's not here. So I don't know if anybody really believes that Queen Elizabeth and her family kind of live the same way that Donald Trump might with his free delivery of Wendy's and McDonald's. But I'm pretty sure she eats a little better than that. What do you guys think?
What, wasn't he just...
She has a private staff that cooks her whatever the hell she wants.
Yeah, the president does too, but yet, he had a luncheon for the NCAA football champions full of nothing but Taco Bell and double cheeseburgers.
Well, doesn't he just... I mean, I think he just eats all that stuff.
Oh no, it's Body by Wendy's.
Oh, yeah. Well,
absolutely.
Well, look, he eats steak well done. So that's all we need to know about him.
That's it. That's all that has to be said.
Ketchup. That's all that needs to be said.
You think he does that thing from Seinfeld, too, where he eats candy bars with a fork and knife and cuts them up?
Oh, my God. Stop it.
Wasn't there a picture of him on Air Force One with, like, KFC, but with a fork and knife or something like something? It was some ridiculous fast food, but he had a fork and knife, and I was like, why?
You got to keep it classy, Ryan. You got to keep it classy. We have listeners in the UK, so I don't want to bash it too hard. I can't stand the Royals. It's just an outdated premise. Nobody cares about them. They're not in charge anymore. They're just rich people that are put above everybody else. And it's a system.
I thought you said you didn't want to bash on them.
No, not on the UK. just the royal family.
I don't bash up on the worship. I don't bash on the worship because this is what you were brought up with, and this is why most people go to church, because they were indoctrinated as a young child. So the royal worship is still very fierce. What pizza place? You know, how dumb do you got to be? You run a business, and how dumb do you got to be? Like, oh, it's going to the royal castle. You're a moron, and you deserve to lose out on the pizzas.
Do you think they told him to at least put on a clean hat if he's going to go deliver to Buckingham Palace?
Oh, I hope he showed up in the biggest shitbox car. You know what I mean? Like the muffler hanging off and just dragging behind him.
A 1982 Celica.
Exactly. What do you got against Toyotas?
So my last story, just to prove that I'm equal opportunity here, Kim, just so you know. Mm-hmm. This one comes from Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
It's a story of addiction. It's a story of a young man who is struggling with a problem. This poor young man had an urge during rush hour some Wednesday morning last week, and he had to go and handle this urge. A 4-year-old stole his grandpa's SUV to go get a candy bar. It had to be done. He needed a Reese's. And, you know, I'm going to tell you right now that if it were Joe or I, we understand.
Oh, I get it.
Reese's is part of our main 4 food groups, and we need it on a daily basis. So I understand. He stole, actually it was his great-grandfather, stole his SUV and went on a candy run during rush hour traffic in the morning to go down and get some Reese's.
He shouldn't be punished. He should be fucking rewarded.
He didn't wreck the car.
No, I applaud his tenacity.
He should be given a driver's license now.
Absolutely.
He can have it 12 years early.
He probably drives better than his grandparents.
Yeah, he was driving a Hyundai Santa Fe, and he did crack the front end of it, hit a mailbox, but that's probably because he couldn't see. Get the kid a booster seat or, you know, one of those Honda Fits that are smaller that he can get into, smart car or something. He'd be just fine. The only sad part of this story, the only truly sad part, is I don't know if he got his candy bar.
Give me his address. I will send him some.
Yeah,
I'll send him a box of them.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Like it was impressive. If you see pictures of him, like his feet couldn't reach the pedal and he couldn't see, which means that I don't know how, like he had to drop down to reach the pedals, but then he really couldn't see. So it's impressive that he was able to do as much as he did. And yeah, he deserves like driver's ed, free driver's ed, and license as soon as possible, and all the Reese's he can get.
Yeah, you would think that if a kid that young drove somebody's car, it would end up looking like Jordan Belfort's Lamborghini in Wolf of Wall Street, you know, where he thought he got home fine and it was just mangled. I mean, the fact that he was able to get to the store and or at least attempt to get to the store is pretty amazing. I mean, I couldn't have done that at 12 or 13, and he's doing it at 4. That kid may be a NASA scientist someday.
And that's it for this episode of the Cinik Radio Podcast. I'm Igrihe. We had a great time bringing you this week's show. Please send all your comments, questions, concerns, and any crazy news stories from your neck of the woods to CINIKRADIO@gmail.com. Find us on the internet at CINIKRADIO.com. Look for us on Facebook at Facebook.com/CINIKRADIO. And find us on Twitter at CINIKRADIO. Continue to like, listen, subscribe, and share this with all your friends and family. And until next time, don't get captured.
Follow the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and at CINIKRADIO.com. Available for download on iTunes.